Hello everyone. Today we discuss about the topic sugar industry. In this PPT, I have taken some information and some diagrams from internet as well as from the book Industrial Chemistry of Phadke Prakashan for BSc Part 3. Cane sugar or table sugar is chemically known as sucrose. It is an important household commodity of civilized world. Because of ever increasing demand for sugar and its relatively low cost, sugar production has become an important industry in many countries. Two major natural sources of sucrose are sugarcane and beetroot. More than half of world sugar is produced from sugarcane. Sugarcane is a large perennial tropical grass belonging to the genus Saccharum. It grows to a height varying from 10 to 15 feet. This picture shows the contribution of sugar production of India in the total world. Here are some largest sugar producing states in India. Sugarcane contains 70 to 75% water, 10% to 18% fiber, about 10% to 15% crystalline sugar, 1% ash, 1% organic acids, gums, and nitrogenous bodies, and about 0.5 to 1.5 reducing sugar. Now we discuss about the manufacture of cane sugar. It involves the extraction of juice, clarification of juice, concentration of juice to syrup, crystallization of sugar, centrifugation, etc. In the extraction of juice, the cane is first washed to remove mud and dirt, then cut diagonally into small pieces by rapidly rotating knives. The cane chips are then sent to milling train consisting of two rolled crusher followed by three rolled mill as shown in this diagram. A mill consists of three horizontal rollers arranged in triangular pattern. Only the top roll rotates and the two bottom rollers remain stationary. The pressure on top roller is maintained at 75 to 80 tons per meter of roller length. Below the crusher and the first mill, there is a vibrating porous pan. The cane juice collected in the pan is freed of big suspended matter and the raw juice is sent to boiling house. The second, third and fourth mills are provided with simple containers. When the chips are crushed in the crusher, only about 60 to 70% of juice is extracted. The bagasse containing the rest of juice is then passed to first, second, third and fourth mills. After every successive milling, juice extraction from bagasse becomes increasingly difficult. So, compound imbibition technique is used. Here, hot water is sprayed on the bagasse passing from the third mill. The dilute juice from the fourth mill is sprayed between the second and third mills. The juice from the third mill is sprayed between first and second mills. The juice from second mill is sprayed on the bagasse coming from the crusher. The moistening of bagasse helps efficient extraction of cane juice. It can be shown in this diagram. Now clarification of juice. The cane juice collected from milling train is acidic, opaque and greenish liquid. It contains both soluble and insoluble impurities. Insoluble impurities contain mud constituent. Soluble impurity contains organic matter, organic acid, proteins, gums and pectins. The process of removing the impurities from the cane juice is called clarification or defecation. There is lime defecation process. The pH of freshly extracted juice is increased to 7.5 to 8.5 by adding milk of lime. Addition of lime reduces the loss of sucrose due to hydrolysis. Also, the soluble acids and phosphates are precipitated as their insoluble calcium salts. Increase in pH also causes coagulation of colloidal particles like proteins, pectins, gums, etc. Along with these, finely divided pith, fiber, and clay are also precipitated. At this stage, if the juice contains less than 3 into 10 raised to minus 5 kg of phosphate per 100 cm cube of juice, then enough phosphoric acid or superphosphate is added to raise the phosphate level. This greatly helps clarification. Next, the lime juice is heated to 333 Kelvin in juice heater. It can be shown in this diagram. These heaters are simple brass tubules where the cold juice and the high pressure hot steam are traveling in opposite direction. The juice is heated to near boiling. Heating helps in rapid coagulation of proteins and accelerates the settling process. The hot juice is then sent to settling tanks known as clarifiers. In clarifier, hot limed juice is separated into three layers. The top layer is of scum. The top layer is of scum consisting of fine fiber particles, and the bottom layer is of mud consisting of heavy precipitate. The middle layer consists of clear juice. The scum is taken out and the clear juice is allowed to drain off through a pipe which is gradually lowered to just above the mud layer. The mud and the scum are filtered under pressure to produce cakes. During filtration, the cakes are washed and the washings are sent back to clarifier. The dried cakes contain some sucrose and phosphate salts. Then next step is concentration of juice to syrup. The clarified juice is dilute and contains about 85% of water. It is concentrated in two stages by evaporating water. The first stage concentration is done in multiple effect evaporators where water content is reduced to 35% to form a heavy syrup. An evaporator is tall, cylindrical, bottle-necked vessel made of mild steel or cast iron. It is horizontally divided into three chambers by fitting two parallel plates. The top and bottom chambers are called juice chambers, while the middle chamber is steam chamber or calandria. Several narrow and few wider pipes vertically connect the two juice chambers. The juice moves up through the narrow tubes and comes down through the wider tube. The juice circulates inside the tubes and steam circulates outside the tubes. The evaporators are joined in series of 3 or 4. The calandria first evaporator is connected to steam inlet pipe coming from steam generator. The top of first evaporator is the evaporators. The evaporators are joined in series of 3 or 4. The calandria first evaporator is connected to steam inlet pipe coming from steam generator. The top of first evaporator is connected to the calandria of second evaporator, and the top of second evaporator is connected to the calandria of third evaporator by the steam outlet pipe. A narrow pipe joins the calandria to the top juice chamber. This helps to remove air and other uncondensed gases. The steam outlet pipe of last evaporator is connected to vacuum pump via a condenser. The bottom of first evaporator is connected to the bottom of second evaporator. Similarly, the bottom of second evaporator is connected to the bottom of third evaporator by connecting pipes. Through these pipes, the juice moves from first to second to third evaporator and sucrose syrup emerges from the third evaporator. The complete assembly is otherwise made airtight. Multiple effect evaporator has the advantage of energy economy. As the same steam is used for heating the juice in 3 different evaporators, fuel is saved. Further evaporation is done by boiling the juice at reduced pressure and in the absence of air. So the loss of sugar due to decomposition and evaporation is minimized. The syrup. Now next, crystallization of sugar. The thick syrup from multiple effect evaporator is further concentrated in the single effect vacuum pan, also called as strict pan. It is fitted either with calandria or steam coils. The calandria fitted pan is similar to the evaporator used in multiple effect evaporator, but it is larger in diameter and size of tube is bigger. It is fitted with vacuum gauze, a condenser, thermometer, a sampling stick, a stirrer and a safety device. There are also mesquite outlet pipe and a feed pipe at the bottom. The crystallization takes place in 2 stages. First, graining. In vacuum pan, the syrup is heated by steam under vacuum and the sucrose concentration of the syrup is raised to supersaturation. Even at this point, crystallization of sucrose does not occur automatically, but it is induced in different ways, like wetting process or wetting method, and another is shock treatment method. In wetting method, the syrup gradually cools down to break supersaturation, and in shock treatment method, here supersaturation is broken by sudden chilling. It can be achieved either by decreasing the rate of steam flow or by increasing vacuum or by sudden mixing large amount of cold syrup. The break even point is recognized by placing a drop of the syrup on glass plate and observing it under lamplight. If shining small crystals are found on the plate, it indicates the break even point. In India, syrup is initially seeded by external seed grains. About 1 ton of fine grains are mixed with the syrup in the pan. This is sufficient for 25 to 30 tons of mesquite. This is more advantageous because it saves time and also disposes of large it saves time and also disposes of low grade sugar. Another stage is growth of crystals. When graining point is reached, more and more syrup is added in lots and mixed thoroughly. The vacuum in the pan maintained at 28.5 inches. Sucrose is forced out from the syrup and deposits on the seeds. So sucrose crystals grow in size. The crystal growth is allowed till the required grain size is attained. During the growth, false grains are likely to be formed, which may hamper the growth of normal crystals. So it has to be avoided. The crystallizer is hollow, horizontally rotating tank which has cooling attachment. It keeps on moving slowly. The mesquite taken to the crystallizer is at 336 to 341 Kelvin. In the crystallizer, it is gradually cooled. Cooling reduces sucrose solubility and enhances crystallization. The crystallization of sucrose in vacuum pan is called sugar boiling. To attain maximum sugar recovery, 3 boilings are needed. The mesquite of first, second, and third boilings are respectively named as mesquite A, mesquite B, and mesquite C. The sugar separated from mesquite A is called sugar A, and the molasses is called molasses A. Similarly, from mesquite B and C, we get sugar B and C and molasses B and C respectively. Now we discuss separation of crystals or centrifugation. The sugar crystals are separated from mother liquor in centrifuge machine. It consists of cylindrical perforated baskets. Through the pores, only the liquid can pass, but not the sugar crystals. This basket is mounted on vertical shaft which rotates the basket. Hot mesquite is fed to the basket and set to rotate till the speed reaches to 1800 to 2400 or 1800 to 2400 rpm. Due to centrifugal force, the mesquite is drawn to the wall of basket. As a result, the syrup flows out through the perforation and the sugar crystals are held within. These sugar crystals are coated by a film of molasses which gives them grayish brown color. So it is washed with a spray of water. This decreases the amount of molasses adhering to the crystals. The basket is rotated till the sugar is fairly dry. The sugar is then collected manually. We can see here the process of production of raw sugar. Here is the flow sheet of cane to raw sugar, which consists extraction of juice by combined imbibition. Second is cane juice heated to 333 Kelvin. Separation of colloidal and suspended impurities by liming the juice. Concentration of cane juice to syrup. Further concentration of juice to macerate. Growth of the crystals. Separation of molasses from raw sugar. Now here is the flow sheet of refining of raw sugar. The refining of raw sugar refers to the decolorization of light brown raw sugar to produce pure white sugar. It involves following operations, that is affination. The raw brown sugar is mixed with the heavy mother liquor of 16 degrees to 80 degrees Brix. The mixing is done in special vessel called mingler, provided with a stirrer. This helps to remove molasses film as well as colored impurities around the sugar crystals. While doing so, only the coating of impurities is removed and no or very little of sucrose goes into mother liquor. The mixture is now centrifuged to separate the crystals from the mother liquor, and the crystals are washed with hot water. The washed sugar is melted in water to a density of 55 to 60 brix. Potable water, steam condensate are used for melting. The vessel used for melting is called melter. The syrup is sent for defecation. In defecation, the sugar solution at this stage contains some insoluble impurities like clay, gums, pectins, etc., which have escaped clarification during raw sugar manufacture. So they are removed by defecation. Liming, sulfitation, and carbonation can be used. Liming is the simplest of the chemical treatments. The syrup is limed to a neutral pH and then heated by steam. A flocculant precipitate is formed which carries the suspended impurities and collides with it. Addition of a slurry of diatomaceous earth greatly enhances the process of defecation. The treated liquor is filtered through a filter press. Now next step is decolorization. The filtered liquid obtained in step B is a clear dark brown liquid still containing some dissolved impurities. So the liquor is passed through beds of bone charcoal kept in char tanks. When the liquid percolates through the charcoal, the colored and some soluble impurities are selectively absorbed on the charcoal and clear colorless pure syrup comes out of the char tanks. The disadvantage of this method is adsorption cycle takes longer time and inorganic salts are not removed. In this decolorization, the filtered liquid obtained in step B is a clear dark brown liquid still containing some dissolved impurities. So the liquor is passed through charcoal bed as shown in the diagram. When the liquid percolates through the charcoal, the colored and some soluble impurities are selectively absorbed on the charcoal and clear colorless pure syrup comes out of the char tanks. The disadvantage of this method is adsorption cycle takes longer time and inorganic salts are not removed. Alternative methods used for purifying the syrup are activated carbon process, ion exchange process, sulfidation process, or carbonation process. Now next step is crystallization and centrifugation. The sugar syrup becomes diluted due to defecation. So it is sent to vacuum pan where it is concentrated under reduced pressure. The massicute so produced is sent to crystallizer. Then sucrose crystals are separated by centrifugation. It is washed and dumped in the wet sugar container. The mother liquor left after sucrose crystallization is used for refining fresh batch of raw sugar, that is in application process. Now next step is drying process. Sugar thus obtained contains 1 to 2% moisture, so it is dried in granulator. A granulator is a horizontally rotating drum through which hot air is blown in opposite direction. When wet sugar passes through the hot air, it is dried. Depending on the method employed for decolorization, the syrup is decolorized to different degrees. So we get different grades of sugars. The flow sheet is shown in this diagram. Now we see the flow sheet for single step manufacture of white sugar. In our country, white sugar is manufactured in a single step process without producing raw sugar. The steps involved are very much similar to those discussed earlier. So we will take a brief account here. First is the extraction of juice. The cane juice is extracted by compound imbibition process discussed as earlier. Second is clarification of juice. The cane juice collected from mill house contains about 78 to 86% water, 10 to 20% sucrose. Organic matters are about 0.5 to 1%. Reducing sugar about 0.5 to 2.5%. And ash about 0.3 to 0.77%. Besides these, it also contains fine pith, fiber, and also some colloidal matter. They affect crystallization of sucrose and impart color to it. So they are removed by either sulfitation defecation process or by carbonation defecation process. Third step is concentration of juice. The clear clarified juice obtained from any of above method is dilute, so concentrated to syrup containing 45 to 50% water in triple effect vacuum evaporator. Fourth step is crystallization of sugar. The thick sugar syrup obtained from multiple effect evaporator is further concentrated to massicute containing 9 to 11% water in strict pan. And last is the centrifugation. The sugar crystals are separated from mother liquor in centrifuge machine. The path followed by cane to cane sugar in single step manufacturing process is given here. Now we discuss about some byproducts of sugar industry. The two important byproducts of sugar industry are bagasse and molasses. Bagasse is the spent cane or cane residue expelled from the last mill of mill house after the complete extraction of juice. It contains 52 to 58% of solid, including some sucrose, and the rest water. The solid is mainly cellulose, fiber, and pith. It is used for various purposes like when other sources of energy like coal and electricity are not available, it is used as a fuel for raising steam. This practice is most prevalent in our country. Secondly, it is used for manufacture of hardboard called cellotex. It is stronger than wood. It is a bad conductor of heat, so has high insulating value. The pith is pentosan. It is separated from the fiber. Then by acid treatment, it is dehydrated to furfural, which is an important industrial chemical used in the manufacture of nylon intermediates. After some pretreatment and mixing with nitrogenous nutrients, it is used as a cattle feed, as well as it may be degummed to manufacture valuable wax and gums. It is also used in the manufacture of paper for newsprint and also as fertilizer. The second byproduct is molasses. Molasses is the mother liquor left behind after the crystallization of sucrose. It is also called as black strap. Its composition is variable. Approximate percentage of major components are water about 15 to 25%, total solids about 75 to 85%, sucrose about 25 to 40%, reducing sugar about 5 to 30%. Molasses is the mother liquor left behind after the crystallization of sucrose. It is also called as black strap. In molasses, the percentage of sucrose is appreciably high. It cannot be recovered, but it is utilized for manufacture of ethyl alcohol, in the production of other chemicals, as well as molasses is a source of plenty of other rare chemicals like aconitic acid. Directly, molasses can be used as an adjunct in the manufacture of animal feed. In this PPT, I have used a DU recorder. Thank you.